Hello, and welcome to episode 8 of Open Books with Alana and Erin, two female leaders modernizing the accounting space. Last episode, we talked about leading from not quite your best self.
Yes.
And we mentioned some things throughout the episode and how we can set examples for our teams. And that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah.
More of the leading from your best self.
Yes.
Which hopefully should be a little more lighthearted than our last episode.
Yes. Yep.
How do you, Alana, know when you are at your best, and how does that present?
For me, it's just like such a connection or like an alignment of, my brain, my thoughts, my mental capacity, all of that. I just feel so much more balanced, right? Like, I think everyone listening, hopefully you're going to that feeling of when you feel totally connected and within your best self. You just feel confident, strong, you're able to listen to people and think through something. You just have a lot of emotional capacity. And that's how I feel, just very approachable, lighthearted. I don't feel so weighed down.
Yeah.
What about you?
Enthusiastic.
Oh, sure.
It's probably what I think my team would say.
Yeah.
Optimistic, maybe sometimes overly optimistic, but just very energetic, I think.
Yeah.
When I am at my best, my energy is high.
Yep.
I feel like I'm a better listener. Like, it's interesting, when I used to get excited and enthusiastic in my earlier days, it was very much I'm a loud person, needs and wants to take up space.
Yeah.
But I've really tried to subvert that and be like, okay, I'm enthusiastic about listening to
I like that.
whoever is talking. If my team member is sharing something, I want to be enthusiastic and energetic about that without overpowering.
Yeah.
So I hope sometimes it comes across, but balanced. I think confident is another big one.
Yep.
When I feel not my best, I do not feel confident at all.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome, right? Couple episodes back. Yeah.
Definitely. But yeah, enthusiastic is by far, I think, my top word that I would choose to describe myself at my best.
Yep, that totally makes sense. So then what are some things you do to support you staying in your best self?
So for me, it's really focused around mental health.
Yeah.
I have a diagnosed mental health thing, which do you as well or no? You don't?
No.
Okay. I thought you did. I don't know what that says about me. Sorry.
Maybe it's undiagnosed.
So I have a diagnosed thing and I take medication for it.
Yep.
And I've done that for years. But it also is very important to me that I have good mental health, because I'm not going to be a good team member to my team if my mental health is trash.
Yeah.
So anything that I can do for that is what I'm going to do. So I regularly do massage and acupuncture, meditation. I stick by my schedule and I put all of that on my schedule.
Okay.
I make sure that I'm doing all of my mandatory doctor's visits, dental visits, even though I hate that stuff. I know I'm not at my best self if my physical health is not there as well.
Yeah.
So giving myself, scheduling out time for myself to really focus on the things that I need to.
Yep.
And then maintaining my external relationships with my friends and my partners. Doing this podcast has actually been a huge bump for my mental health in my external relationships from my day-to-day job.
Yeah.
Even though it has a hint of imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Yep.
As we've recorded more, I get that bubbly feeling from it. Still posting them, terrifying.
Oh, my God.
But the recording and just spending time together.
I agree.
Is so enriching.
Yes.
And thinking about stuff that isn't just the day to day.
Yeah.
But leadership in general.
Yep.
It's been a huge mental health spike almost.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't go down.
Let's hope
But
not.
yeah, that's what I do. How about you?
Pretty similar in like carving out time for myself, taking care of myself, maintaining those external relationships are so important. I know when I'm doing okay when I'm getting sleep. For me, sleep is one of the first thing that starts to go, just because my mind races, which I'm sure many people can relate to. So I am pretty diligent about making sure I get sleep, because I know if that starts to go, it's just gonna be a snowball of things.
Yeah.
So really prioritize my sleep, prioritize external relationships, whether it's connecting with my family or friends. Even before we started the podcast, you and I
We did.
pretty routinely would meet up about stuff,
Yeah.
to do things, especially with the dogs and stuff.
Oh.
So that's been,
We need to start that
we
up,
do
by the
need
way,
to,
when it
yes,
gets warmer.
when the weather's good. Yeah. But I also like to do that really, connecting with my animals through my life. I love them. So, and also just getting outside, I think is really important. In Montana, it can be a little bit hard with the weather, but, getting some sort
Those,
of
40 below zero
those were
weeks.
tough. That was tough.
Yeah.
That'll stretch you a little bit. But yeah, getting some sort of fresh air, sunshine is really important to the soul for sure.
Oh, definitely.
Yep.
That, even just taking a cycle, we have a backyard with the dogs.
Yeah.
Just doing a quick cycle of the backyard, winter, summer, raining, doesn't matter, throwing on a rain jacket and doing it is such a little burst of not adrenaline, whatever the happy chemical is.
Like an endorphin?
I think that's working out. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
But that outdoor, there's something about the outdoors and the fresh air. We are so lucky to live in Montana where we are, and we're in a very, I would say, the most beautiful part of Montana.
Oh yeah.
I mean, not biased at all.
But it is.
But we are lucky to have really fresh air for the most part.
Yep.
And getting to experience that, just breathe it in, deep breath out.
Yep,
Walking
is
around
huge.
the backyard is like, oh man, I'm ready for it to get warmer so I can do that again.
I know, me too. We're having some sunny days recently, and it's just like making me itch to have the nice weather back again. So hopefully we'll get the early spring, like they're
Fingers
saying.
crossed.
We'll see.
So we talk about doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
How do you actually find the time to do it?
I mean, if somebody could solve that, that would be
great.
like, if we could put a 25th hour or like an 8th day or something, right? That's what we all need. But for me, a concept that I've really been challenging myself with, I would say the past like 6 months or so, is really exchanging the word busy for prioritizing. We are all busy. Busy looks different to all different types of people. And I think, well, yes, busy is a valid thought and it's true. People are busy. I think sometimes it's an excuse. And so it's easy for somebody to say, I'm too busy for that, or, they're too busy. But really what I'm hearing is they're just not prioritizing certain things, right? And whatever you prioritize, those are the choices that you're making. And so I think I have just gotten really honest with myself of like, I can't do everything. I am going to say no to these things because I have to prioritize some other things. And I'm learning how to prioritize myself in even, instead of work. Like that's really what I'm challenging myself with. Because I'm going for the long game, right?
Right.
But yeah, it's been an interesting mind shift for me to change it to what am I prioritizing in the day, because then it really opens up my eyes when you exchange that word.
Yeah.
So
I absolutely love that. You always come up with the best like catchphrases or just sentences. I'm just like, light bulb, like what? That's amazing. It's exactly what I have in my head that I can't verbalize.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
It's not, I can't remember where I learned it. It's not my idea, but it might have been a book or something, or maybe like a TikTok reel or something. But for me at the time, it was also a light bulb. And it's something I continue to challenge
Yeah.
myself with of, just what are you prioritizing that day? So what about you? How do you find time for all of it?
So as I said earlier, I schedule it. It
Yep.
all goes on my calendar, and it's my work calendar because
Okay.
I want it, as we're talking about setting examples,
Yep.
I want my team members to see that I am prioritizing these things.
Oh, sure.
They
Okay.
see I have a massage scheduled every 4 weeks.
Yeah.
For my physical health, we sit
Yeah.
a lot.
Yep.
Some of us, like you,
Yeah.
may have a treadmill
Yep.
under their desk.
Yes.
I'm pretty good at doing the stand up, sit down throughout the
Nice.
day, but still really hard on your body.
Yes.
And so massage is, if you're into the energy work stuff as well,
Yep.
massage is great. I, in my prior life, was a massage therapist, so I may be a little biased. But that is huge. It goes on my calendar. Acupuncture goes on my calendar.
Nice.
I want everyone to see that,
Yep.
that I'm taking time and I am prioritizing these things. I am not too busy for them because I know without them, I can't function
Yeah.
the best I can.
Yep.
If I have like dinner plans or I'm meeting past coworkers
Yeah.
for lunch,
Yep.
that goes on the calendar. I'm
Okay.
meeting someone for lunch, or have to go get my oil changed.
Yeah.
Like, I want them to see that not only do we have a flexible work environment, which is kind of like maybe different in an office situation,
Yeah.
but that I regularly am doing things for myself
Yeah.
that, yeah, it's happening during work hours, or maybe it isn't happening after or during work hours, but I'm still putting it on there so everyone can see it.
Yeah.
So that they know it's okay to really focus on themselves
Yeah.
when they need to.
Yep.
So that's definitely my my schedule is everything. I'm getting
Yeah.
my hair done. It's going on the schedule.
Like it.
And the team has gotten used to it now. So usually, like, if they see that I'm getting my hair done, they're
Yeah.
slacking me, like, "Where's the pics?"
So funny.
So, but it's all in an effort to be open about taking time for myself.
Yep.
Because I want them to do the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
I want their mental and physical health to be and emotional health to be the best that it can.
Yep.
Because that's when they're going to do their most work and when they're most happiest.
Yep.
Most happiest.
Most happy.
Most happy.
Totally.
But yeah, it goes on the schedule.
Yeah, I like that because I think, as a company, and I think there's probably quite a few firms who may do a mental health seminar or, kind of say all these things, but I think it's so important that, especially the tone at the top, but then leaders
Right.
are committing to that as well. And that you see other leaders, taking the time off or doing something for themselves
Right.
and bringing that back, and being vocal about it, because I think that encourages team members to do the same, and that's so important.
The one thing I want to like get better at as far as kind of being best self and setting that example is I want to figure out the best way to show how I'm still learning,
Okay.
if that makes sense. Because there's continuing education, right?
Yeah.
Like we can all attend the same webinars and chat
Yep.
about them, like blah, blah. But what am I really doing to continue learning? And I think that's specific to my team right now.
Yeah.
And especially during the season that it is. That seems to be the thing that gets left behind.
Okay.
And I really like over probably the next year, really want to focus on how do I show and share the example of how I am continually learning, not just about my job, but maybe about the position or more about servant leadership or
Sure.
I'm not quite sure. And maybe that's like the flu.
Yes.
And maybe that's just putting on my calendar that, hey, I'm reading this book for a half hour first thing in the
Yeah.
morning, or I'm not quite sure how I want to do it yet. If anyone has any suggestions, I'll take them.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of my like one area I feel like I haven't really shown growth in.
Okay.
And I know our team wants to grow as team members and just individuals in general.
Yeah.
And I think they want more than just the boring old technical webinars.
Totally.
So I'm trying to figure that out right now. I haven't quite gotten there, but that's kind of,
Yeah.
I feel like I've gotten the mental health
Yeah.
example down. So now it's more like both professional and personal development.
Yeah. I like that. There's somebody in our office, a fellow, probably I would say one of like our mentors. He reads most mornings. And I remember the first couple times I saw him not at his desk, but instead in his chair reading.
Yeah.
And it's nothing about work. It's always some sort of personal development book. And I remember I was like, I think I even just said, are you reading? Obviously he's reading. Because I was just like not what I expected to see. And I remember that it was during busy season. And it was really cool to see, because I was like, oh my gosh, what a thought. He's like taking care of himself and like bettering himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, he reads, I think it's for like 20 minutes
Right.
in the mornings. And yeah, I just always thought it was a really cool concept. Really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so easy. Well, I shouldn't say it's so easy. It's amazing that he did that in the office so that people could see him.
Yes.
And that's where I'm struggling
Yes.
with. How do I make that same
Oh, got it.
in a remote environment?
You're right. Yep, totally.
How do I make it visible to set the example for the team?
Yeah, beyond it just being like reading hour on your calendar.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a really good point, and to your point, it was so impactful to see him, as people are hustling around and stuff.
Right.
Just to see him,
in his
reading a
little
book.
chair.
Yeah. His coffee, reading his book. And so that's a really good point. How do you translate that into a remote world?
Yeah.
So maybe somebody has some ideas in the meantime that they can.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely like an area I want to improve in. Do you have any of those areas?
I mean, always, right? Like trying to read more, or what I've been working on is finding some sort of like mind hobby, if that makes sense. Just because I feel like my mind's always kind of going. So like when you talk about your schedule and stuff, I just had a lot of anxiety because like schedules to me are just like massive to-do lists of like get to the next thing.
Oh yeah.
So that's not super comforting to me. But what I'm trying to find is like an activity that keeps my mind busy, but I can also turn it off. Like I can turn work off and just focus on the task at hand. So you and another one of our friends got me into Legos. I've started that. And then I also, like 2 months ago, started the hand knitting. Like the hand crocheting.
We need to have a whole conversation.
I know.
This is news to me.
I guess I didn't tell you that.
I cross stitch.
Yes.
So, and I have crocheted and knitted in the past.
Yeah.
We need to talk about this offline.
Yeah. But so I taught myself, and I taught myself it's probably been like 8 weeks now. I've made 6 blankets already.
No.
Yes. Isn't that wild? I'm like, oh my gosh. I just like start going, and yeah. So that's been really fun.
Yeah.
So I try to supplement between Legos and the blankets.
Yeah.
But I would like to continue to learn more like brain activities like that, because it produces something, keeps me, away from work, keeps my hands busy.
Yeah.
It's been really enjoyable for me. Yeah. We started one of my team meetings because I wanted to get more ideas. And so I was like, what do you all do creatively? Because I'm trying to find more ideas.
Yeah.
So I got some good ones from them.
Ooh.
So, but it's cool to hear what everyone does
Yeah.
in their off time.
I should
Yeah.
ask. Well, I know what most people do, but
Sure.
in an environment like that, like,
Yeah.
hey, just give me some ideas.
Yes.
I love that kind of crowdsourcing from your
Yes.
team.
And it was cute because a few of them were like working from home, or a lot of them have what they do in their office. And so it kind of turned into like a show and tell of like, I made this, or
Yeah.
it was a really cool session in our team meeting.
It's so funny you say that. So I redecorated, well,
Yeah.
kind of redid my background in my home office since I work remote not that long ago. But the thing I've always wanted to make sure that I have behind me is some kind of hobby.
Oh, sure. And you
Because
do.
I do. So I am very much into mechanical keyboards.
Yep.
I am a mega nerd. Everyone at work makes fun of me until they want me to build them one.
Exactly. Yep.
I'm going to build you one of these days.
I want one.
But I have those on the wall behind me. I have a
Yeah.
pegboard with all my stuff. I have a bunch of my cross stitching stuff on the wall. And because I want my team to see that I do other stuff than just nerd out on spreadsheets.
Totally.
And that was a very purposeful, like, yes, I like the way it looks on the wall, but also like I am more than just an accountant.
Sure. Yep.
And it's been, if you're interviewing people remotely,
Yeah.
it is great. Great conversation starter. Talking with clients, great conversation starter. But I hope that it at least shows the team that I do not put every single ounce of my energy into accounting.
No.
I am a well-rounded person.
Exactly. Stuff to do outside of work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a good concept of like showing it, talking about it, and then also showing it.
Having it visible.
Yep. So important.
Yeah. So they get to see my progress of the cross stitching.
Like
Did they see your progress on your how many blankets?
6 now. 6. Wow. I don't have them in the office. They're also so heavy.
Yeah.
Because they're like super thick. So they're very heavy blankets.
The real question is when are you going to make me one?
I know, I do need to. You make me a keyboard, I'll make you a blanket. Fair?
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. Oh, I have so many plans for you.
Yeah, good.
So back on track here.
Sorry.
I mean, all good stuff. What do you say? So you learned about knitting.
Yes.
From your team. What else have you learned from your team, specifically about the, leading from your best self and setting examples?
Yeah, what I've learned from my team members doing this is to ask for what you need and be vocal about what you need. I think sometimes, especially in our industry, but I think in a lot of industries, asking for something that goes against the standard population or looked at as an exception or a deviation can be seen as like a weakness or like, okay, you need this, just to do what everyone else is doing is kind of the message I feel like is shared historically.
Yeah.
But I've had a couple team members who have had a lot of strength in asking for what they need. So whether it's, they work a 4-day week, because they have their kid on Fridays or they want to work from home a certain amount of time and not come into the office because they need to have more balance. Whatever it might be to get you in your best self, speak up. And that's what I've learned of like, you don't know until you ask. And to be honest, if you want to be in your best self, like, sometimes you have to speak up for it. So it's hard to do. But I've seen my team do it and it's been really impressive. And so it's something that I've definitely learned from them.
Yeah.
To do that. What about you?
So this has been a hard one for me, coming up with something that my team has taught me. But I think the thing that has stuck with me the most is that they may not verbalize that they see what we do as leaders, but similar to my one last year where actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
Where they will do something or like they'll mention something and how it came back to what I had put on my schedule or something like that.
Okay.
And that has, the thing I've learned from them is that they are paying attention.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
So even if you're not getting the positive confirmation in the moment, it is making a difference continuing to do that.
Yeah.
Yep, totally.
And I think some of it is from them asking for more, whether that's more flexibility or like just saying like, hey, I'm going out for the night. Like, I'll post pictures of our food because like required.
Yep.
But I think that's probably the thing I've learned from the team the most is that even though I don't get the verbal like, hey, thanks for putting that on there. It showed me that I can. I see more people doing it.
Yep.
And I think it's making a difference.
Yeah, sounds like it is. Sounds like it.
I mean, maybe if my team listens to this, they'll let me know.
They'll let you know. Yeah. Maybe add a comment.
Yeah. But for some reason, this one was a really hard one for me to come up with. And I think it's because it's a very like, what can I do to be my best self?
Right.
And it's kind of a personal one. I really struggled with
it's more focused
this.
Like on, like ourselves type of thing. Yep, I get that.
For that, because it was focusing on myself, I definitely know what I would tell myself when I was younger.
Take it away. What would you tell yourself?
To be a good example.
Yeah.
And this is something I have to tell myself currently is when you take time off, take freaking time off.
Yeah. Yep.
Disconnect.
Yep.
And my COO, Sarah, is very good at this.
Really?
She like when she is done for the weekend, she might not just be it might not just be vacation or anything. If she's done for the weekend, she is done.
Wow.
She does not check anything. She's very, very good at that boundary.
Yep.
And she's like, I would love to do that. I have a lot of FOMO.
Yep.
Just feeling of missing out.
Yep.
It is I always want to be on. I always want to know what's going on.
That's such an arid thing.
I want to.
You would continue working. Yeah. No.
Just
and I only
so
say
I
that
know.
because I know you.
I know. I may not like. There's always something that can be done that I can do.
Or somebody posting something. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Or
I
like
get it.
I'm the one posting pictures of my dogs. So I need to tell. I wish I told myself when I was younger so I could build the habit of being better about it.
Yep.
Because I'm so bad, and I know for my mental health I need breaks, and usually I don't totally disconnect until like I actually have a migraine or something and physically can't connect. But I think it's a super important boundary and one that is really hard for a lot of people.
Yep.
I have team members who are exactly the same way. And I would love to be able to be like, listen, you can see me. I am exactly like you right now.
Yep.
In 5 months, I want to be able to step away and like actually disconnect and hopefully try to kind of pull them along with me so they can do the same.
Yep.
Because it's such a, I want to know what's going on.
I know you do.
I want to know the tea, especially if there's drama. I want to know. Usually, I will say it's not internal team drama.
Yes.
Like we're very in touch with all the towns that all of our teams live in. So like if the river's flooding, I want to know what's happening.
I want to know now.
Yeah. So it's not like bad drama.
No,
but
it's
I just want to know, and I need to learn to be okay without knowing. And I wish I'd built that habit so much earlier.
Yeah.
So,
but that's such a strong trait of yours is like that connection that you want with others.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe it's just learning how to balance it.
Yeah. Balance is the perfect word.
Because you don't want to remove it. That's one of your best traits, right?
Thanks.
Just a balance, I think, more than anything.
Yeah. Totally. I think for my relationship with my spouse probably would be a good thing to balance.
Totally.
He's like, are you still on your phone?
Get off.
Talking to people on Slack. I'm like,
you talk to them all day.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's this really cute dog picture. So, it's a struggle. How about you?
Mine's similar in that I would say I would tell myself, and I continue to tell myself, to walk the walk And so, you can say all day long, log off, get off Teams, all of that. But we have to be willing to do it. And mine more so is like, I don't want to hold my team up, even if I'm gone or something. Like, they need me. What is it for me just to answer a message, So I'm pretty connected even when I'm supposedly off. A couple months ago, a teammate just casually mentioned to me, on Teams, obviously, or Slack, like the color of your icon, mine is pretty consistently always green, which isn't great.
Yeah.
And so that was really eye-opening for me of like, whoa, because it's on my phone and I'm so connected, it looks like I'm just always on. And that's not truly the case, but it's that perception of, I think, like you said, team members thinking they need to be always on, or I'm not, taking the time when I should be.
Yeah.
So I would tell myself, and I continue to tell myself to, take the time and recharge and connect with others and have that boundary is really important. Yep.
I remember, I can't remember if it was an article or a story I read or something, but it was about an office, like a CEO and could be a staff accountant. Or a partner or staff accountant. And the person in charge would come in at 9, leave at 5, 9 to 5 every day. And that made the employees feel like they could also leave. Like they were not expected to be burning the midnight oil. And then sometime one of the workers saw the CEO in the parking lot on a call on their phone. Have you heard this before?
I think it was an article. Yes.
And the CEO was like, well, I don't do this in the office because I don't want everyone to expect to have to work the same hours as I do as the CEO. Like, obviously, you're leading a company, most likely going to be some extra work at some time.
Totally. Yeah.
And to actually realize the impact that you're making on your team. I think it's so important. And that article, it must have been an article if it's familiar to you too. I remember reading that and just being like, oh my gosh. Like I remember when, and I'm sure it still happens at the firm now, but there was a specific shareholder who was always the first in and the very last to leave if they ever left the office. And while the expectation was not that you would be there these same hours, the expectation was that we are, I don't know a tactful way to say it, busting ass. And that was not a great work-life balance for anyone. It was miserable. But that was the expectation set by this partner.
The tone.
And it really made a difference in my young accounting life.
I get it. Yep. I'm there with you.
Well, thanks for listening to Open Books. We hope that by bringing forward lessons we've learned along the way during our time in the accounting industry, that others can learn from us and share as we continue to evolve as leaders in the accounting community. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.